The NBA trade deadline is by far my favorite holiday of the year, as two or more teams decide to shake up their situations and a whole hell of a lot of views are seen on YouTube. So, we're going to be looking at the year 2000 and on to see some of the biggest trade deadline deals that have occurred in the NBA. We may see a few this season, as Paul Millsap has been on the trade rumors. Me being a Celtics fan, I'm very interested to see what happens with DeMarcus Cousins. So let's talk about it. Since the year 2000, some of the biggest ones. And I'll say now, the Kyrie Irving trade, or the Baron Davis for a first-round pick trade that eventually turned into Kyrie Irving, that one's not going to be here because while it ended up being a big deal, the trade itself was not a huge deal at the time. In fact, I might give that move as well as one similar to it its own video. But let's dive into this thing. And the last two are going to be the two best ones. The first three are in no particular order amongst themselves. We go to 2015 as the Phoenix Suns decided to throw 9 million point guards on their rotation, and everyone on NBA Twitter was like, "The hell are you guys doing?" But apparently their front office thought that the addition of Isaiah Thomas on top of Goran Dragic and Eric Bledsoe could make them just a three-headed monster that'd be impossible to deal with. And Dragic, he might be cheering on the bench right now, but as we all know, he did not like the situation at all. But then Phoenix, realizing their mistake, also decided to try to shop Isaiah Thomas as well. And this is where the Boston Celtics came into play. At this point, they had a team that really struggled offensively. I mean, shout out to Marcus Smart and his weird hairdo, but that guy still can't shoot. Evan Turner couldn't hit an outside shot. He still can't. Avery Bradley had not really taken off as an offensive player yet. They were having a tough time. You send a random first-round pick and Marcus Thornton to the Phoenix Suns, and suddenly Isaiah Thomas is putting up nearly 30 points a night for these guys, as Marcus Thornton is off in like Houston somewhere. He hasn't done anything for the Phoenix Suns. And with how many draft picks the Celtics have, the one that they got for Isaiah is meaningless. So this is just a straight robbery to go from a team that was looking for a real scorer to getting one of the best in the NBA and to doing it for basically nothing. Can we talk about Isaiah's contract as well? The guy makes $6 million, which allowed the Celtics to go out and sign Al Horford in free agency a season ago, and they're going to have more cap space this season to go out and add another talent. Of course, Isaiah's going to get a payday and a half once his contract is up after next season, but in the meantime, the Celtics are enjoying one of the best scorers in the NBA. They got him for absolutely nothing. He creates for the rest of their guys, and because of his extremely low salary, they have the luxury to look to add more talent to this roster. And just think, man, the Phoenix was on the rise, and then they decided to add way too many damn guards who need the ball in their hand. As for Dragic, he ended up in Miami. It seemed like a good spot. Now the roster's gotten depleted. Who knows what's going to happen with him? Next, we're going to take you to 2011. The Denver Nuggets, who were coming off of 2 straight first-round exits, and Carmelo Anthony, one of the top scorers in the NBA at that time, and at that time was actually thought of as the best point producer in the NBA for his ability to score from everywhere. If you want to play him up close, he could drive by you. If you want to give him space, he'll knock the J down in your face. The jab steps, the mid-range game was unstoppable. The low post game, Melo was just as versatile as they come as a scorer. He wanted to get out of Denver, and the team that was linked to him forever, Amare Stoudemire's New York Knicks, who were going through a bit of a resurgence because after signing Amare, they were actually a respectable product after not being that for quite a few seasons, and it seems Stoudemire was really embracing being the leader of this team, as he would average 25 points and 8 rebounds in the 2011 season. Some Knicks players who would go over to the Nuggets, one of them being Wilson Chandler, a quality athletic two-way wing, as well as Raymond Felton, who was actually leveling his game with the Knicks, as well as Gallinari, who's one of the goofiest looking people in the NBA, bar none. Melo ends up on the Knicks, and his scoring was definitely felt immediately. They went down in round 1 to the Miami Heat in the first season, with him as well as Chauncey Billups being on the roster. But still, it was seen as a very exciting move and one that they could really build on and create a winning product. Unfortunately, it's not exactly gone smoothly since then. One of their problems has always been their defense, they've just never been able to really elevate themselves to one of the top teams in the league with the roster they have around them. And besides one 54-win season, where they spread a whole bunch of three-point shooters around Carmelo Anthony, it just hasn't been awesome. Amare Stoudemire's injury definitely didn't help, but still, now they have Melo, they have Kristaps Porzingis, and perhaps the two of them can form something while Melo is still a prime player. Now let's get to 2001 with Allen Iverson's 76ers, and they asked AI to do a ridiculous amount of shooting as well as scoring for them that he was able to back up while also being on the cover of NBA 2K for like 6 straight years when NBA Live was more popular. They needed a big man after Theo Ratliff, defensive extraordinaire, went down, and in a trade with the Atlanta Hawks, they acquired shot blocker as well as overall defensive player Dikembe Mutombo, who apparently knows like 900 languages, and he's got the longest name in the history of ever. And once the trade was finalized, Allen Iverson said, "I'd be lying to you if I didn't think we could win a championship with this move, as Dikembe is someone who can be a force on both sides of the ball." And this Sixers team with Mutombo, Iverson, and a whole bunch of defensive players made it to the NBA Finals, where they went up against, of course, the Los Angeles Lakers. Here's the thing, they talk about Allen Iverson's crazy Game 1, where he managed to give the Lakers their only loss in the entire postseason. I think one thing that gets lost in this entire series, with Kobe and Shaq being in the middle of a three-peat and Allen Iverson putting on just a hell of a performance overall, is that Dikembe Mutombo averaged like 16 points and 12 rebounds during this thing. So he was making a damn big impact as well. I know he was going up against Shaq, who was probably putting up like 30 and 15, but Mutombo wasn't just some defender who could grab rebounds. He was actually putting the ball in the basket and giving Iverson at least one other guy to consistently pass to. Unfortunately, after this season, nothing really much came of Mutombo to the Sixers, but for 1 year, it was really damn good. Oh, and I'll tell you now, the rest of this video, there's a decent amount of Lakers being shown, so if you're a Lakers fan, shout out to you. The 2004 Pistons. They were a roster that was full of quality guys, maybe not guys who would cover Sports Illustrated, unless they did one of those things where they put the entire team on, which I'm pretty sure they did for the Atlanta Hawks at one point, like 2 years ago. They were really damn good on defense, they knew how to play together offensively, but they needed that one more piece to really put it together. And Rasheed Wallace, after playing a total of 1 game for the Atlanta Hawks, was moved in a deal that sent like Lindsey Hunter and something else to the Boston Celtics. And Rasheed was one of the driving forces in the Pistons' upset over the star-studded Los Angeles Lakers, as Rasheed could score from pretty much anywhere. His turnaround jumper does not look like that at all. He barely even jumps when he shoots it, but hey, you know what, that's okay. 3-point shooting, mid-range shooting, low post scoring, pick and rolls, pick and pops. Wallace was really ahead of his time as an offensive player in the power forward position. If he played today, he'd be in friggin' heaven. He could shoot 10 3-pointers a game. He'd be the next Ryan Anderson. Also, the defensive front court of he and Ben Wallace was pretty damn good, as they managed to beat the Lakers in only 5 games. And because we're talking about the Lakers, let's just keep on talking about them. In 2008, Kobe Bryant was carrying a team that was actually pretty decent. Speaking of pretty decent, the guy who made this roster actually looks pretty good. It's a created Kobe, but it actually doesn't look half bad. So yeah, Kobe was not threatening to be traded from this team because it was actually going pretty damn alright with some of the talent that was around him. But I don't think anybody thought this Lakers team was a real title contender. Even if Lamar Odom was a solid, really tall dude who could dribble and make plays, and then Andrew Bynum, who, again, well done on the roster, whoever the hell made this. He was stepping up as a center. But after he got injured, this team decided to call up the Memphis Grizzlies, send them 2 first-round picks, as well as the right to Marc Gasol, and they got Mark's brother in the process with Pau Gasol, and Kobe finally found himself another star to really pair up with. And Gasol, the low post scoring that he provided for this team was just huge, but also his ability to just play off of Kobe Bryant as well as everyone else. I remember seeing an interview or something where Kobe said after they acquired Gasol, he was so used to like giving the ball to Kwame Brown or whatever that he hit Gasol with a bounce pass, and just the fact that he caught it, Kobe was like freaking out. And then he actually made the shot, so the pairing of Kobe Bryant as well as Pau Gasol was pretty damn devastating, as they would run through the Western Conference that season, even though I'm showing them up against the Cleveland Cavaliers right now, but it's all good, okay? Don't worry about it. They would make the 2008 NBA Finals, where they got their asses kicked by the Boston Celtics, to put it bluntly. But even so, you could tell that the pairing of these two, as well as the roster around them, they were going to be back. Pau Gasol got ridiculed by national television, but still, the Celtics proved to be a little too tough for the Lakers their first year. The next season, they went up against the Orlando Magic, and speaking of turnaround jumpers that don't make sense, I'm pretty sure Bynum never jumped on his turnarounds either. But still, this front court, combined with Kobe being in his prime, very tough to deal with. They beat the Orlando Magic in 2009, and then the rematch with the Celtics in 2010 in a Game 7 that ripped my heart out, specifically when Ron Artest, or Meta World Peace at that time, hit a three-pointer that really shouldn't have gone in. But shout out to these guys, shout out to Gasol, and shout out to the trade deadline.